Good afternoon, pretty much. How is everybody today? I hope you're all doing well, taking care of yourselves, and just in an overall good space despite the world right now. Speaking of the world, pretty crazy, isn't it? And I don't know if you noticed, but I've taken a little bit of a hiatus. I got really sick, like really sick at the beginning of November, and I was incapacitated for a while. I felt like I was getting like an upper respiratory bronchitis kind of thing, but I couldn't go see a doctor until I got COVID tested, and while I was waiting for my results to come in, everything just like peaked and I wound up in the hospital, and it was really scary, really isolating, very much something I would not want to have to go through again. But fortunately for me, it was not COVID. I did not have the coronavirus. I just had a really severe asthma attack that happened on top of whatever sickness I had. And I'm better, but I'm still recovering. Even a month later, I'm still recovering. It's a long process. I've had asthma for the last 8 years, and I will continue to always have asthma, but I'm very actively and aggressively treating it now, so that is good, and I'm better and continuing to get better every day, though it is a little bit frustrating as a whole because it's a very slow process, but overall my well-being is good. I'm good, Jake's good, this whole house is good, and we are moving onwards and upwards. I've got a little bit of a different layout today. I just wanted to do a change of pace, see how I like this better. This seems a little bit more intimate. I am excited for this recipe today because it is a delish.com recipe. Well, it's from Tess Koman, who works for delish.com, and Tess Koman, if you don't know her and haven't seen her just fantastic series with Delish called Iconic Eats, it's fantastic. I love it. She has gone to Disney, Universal, Coney Island, Knott's Berry Farm, to name just a few places, and just eaten the most iconic foods that those parks have to offer. And it's really fun and exciting, and it was really helpful for me when we went to Disney World last year to know like where to go to get fun snacks that were delicious and absolutely worth the cost. So that was fantastic, loved it. I love watching her. She's so dry and sarcastic and funny, and I feel like I resonate with that. But she has a new series with delish.com called Slightly Kosher, because she is Jewish, so she has started out this series making the most iconic in her household of their favorite kosher foods, kosher meals. She made brisket, she made latkes, and she also made jelly donuts. So today I am using her recipe and modifying her method just a little bit for these jelly donuts, and I'm pretty pumped. That's a lie. I've never really had a jelly donut. I don't really care for jelly as a whole. I don't like peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. I don't eat jelly on toast. I've never really been a fan. I don't know if it's texture, flavor, it's just not my vibe. So because I don't like jelly, I've never had a jelly donut. But today that's changing. I'm making them myself, using her recipe, her method, modified just a little bit, her moi, and they're going to be delicious. I'm excited. So without further ado, let's get started. Okay, I have regular all-purpose flour here, and we're going to need 3/5 of a cup, which I know sounds a little funky, but we're going with it. I guess this is half of the recipe, and this recipe should make about 6 or 7 donuts. We'll see depending on like how big our dough is. So yeah, so I have a 1 cup measuring cup here, and I'm just gonna kind of eyeball it because I don't know what the weight of 3/5 of a cup would be. So just gonna kind of eyeball it. I also have whole wheat flour here. We're going to use a 1/4 cup of whole wheat flour. I think this has something to do with structure of the dough. I don't really know. I'm just following her recipe because she's flawless. Perfect. I love her. I wish we could be friends. I feel like we'd be good friends. But yeah, so we're gonna do a 1/4 cup of whole wheat flour. If you don't have whole wheat flour, you can just use regular flour to make up for it. Now, she didn't specify what kind of yeast she used. I wanted to assume it was active dry yeast. However, I think because of the method that was used to bring the dough together, I'm going to interpret it as instant yeast or fast-acting yeast. So that's what I have here. Instant dry yeast. We're going to need a teaspoon and like an 1/8. I'm just gonna kind of zhuzh this around with a fork. To this, and I'm doing this in the bowl of a stand mixer, I have a 1/4 cup of water, just a drop of honey, and I'm using organic raw honey, and just a splash of canola oil, just smallest little splash. And I warmed this for about 30 seconds in the microwave just to get it warm, and then I've let it come back down to room temperature because, as we all know, say it with me, if your water's too hot, your yeast will not activate. You'll just, boom, kill the yeast right off the bat. No chance at all. So we're going to add the water to the flour and yeast mixture. Smells deliciously yeasty. So I have my paddle attachment. We're going to combine this on low speed until it's just kind of wet all the way through. So now I have 1 whole egg we're going to add to this. Just a pinch of kosher salt and just a small splash of vanilla extract. So we're gonna let this go on the lowest speed for another 2 minutes. So this is our dough ball. It smells like dough. It's sticky but soft and pliable. So I have a clean floured work surface here. So I'm going to use some of this flour that I have on the counter, and we're going to knead by hand for about 5 to 7 minutes until a nice smooth dough comes together, nice and elastic. Beautiful. So yes, it's a very small round, and as I stated earlier, this is like half of a recipe, so it's going to make just the perfect amount for Jake and myself. So let's get kneading. For this, we're going to pull and fold back. Okay, being gentle, you don't want to overwork the dough. There she is, our beautiful little donut ball. Okay, so I have a greased bowl here. I'm going to put that in there, cover this with plastic wrap, and let it rise for about an hour or so until it's doubled in size. Are you ready for the reveal? Because there she is. I was kind of worried that I hadn't kneaded it enough, that it wasn't worked enough, and that it wouldn't rise, and then I had used the wrong kind of yeast because it didn't specify. No hate to you, Tess. But it would have been nice to know what kind of yeast to use. So yeah, this looks good. It smells nice and yeasty, very bready, very dough-like. So we're just going to toss this down onto a floured work surface. I have a rolling pin here. Just going to flour the rolling pin and punch our dough down. And then we're going to just roll it out till it's about 1/4 inch thick. Rolled the dough out. You can kind of see it. Sorry, this is awkward. But so I rolled the dough out. It's about 1/4 inch thick, maybe just a little bit thinner. And I have a 2-inch cookie cutter here, dough cutter, biscuit cutter, and we're just gonna cut out our donuts. This dough feels so nice, like insanely like silky. This is probably like one of the better feeling doughs that I've worked with. This is, I might keep this and put it in a stress ball. Would that be weird? Would that be weird? Doesn't everybody keep bread dough in a stress ball? This is really nice. I like it. Okay, so I cut out 8 donuts, and I could reconstitute this, work it back together, roll it out, and get some more, but I think this is fine. I don't really like waste, but I also don't like the look of patched together dough. So I have a loosely floured baking sheet here. I'm just going to move these donuts onto the baking sheet, and I'm going to let these rest and set it to rise for maybe another 15-20 minutes. They shouldn't need very long. This is a step that Tess did not do. I'm sorry, I can't stay bent over like that. That's too hard. This is a step that Tess did not do. She just cut them out, took them straight into the frying pan, which is great, fine. Hers turned out perfect, but I want a really nice, light, airy, little bit more rise to it donut than what she had. Not that hers weren't beautiful. I'm not critiquing you. I promise you know what you're doing. I don't. This is just how I would do it, how I am doing it. So I'm just going to let these rest covered for another like 15-20 minutes while our oil heats up, just to give them a little extra bounce to it. And I'm going to fry these in a 375 degree little pot of oil for about 45 minutes on each side, and then let them drain on a paper towel lined plate. After I do that, we'll be back here and I'll show you how I fill them. Here they are. They smell delicious. I used peanut oil to fry these per Tess Koman, Tess's mom's suggestion. She used canola oil. Use whatever you have on hand. Okay, so these are still like piping hot. So this is when I'm going to put our raspberry jelly in here. So I'm just gonna put a little hole and I don't know how much jelly is needed per thing, but I'm just gonna, I did have one that my nail punctured, so it didn't rise up like the other ones did, but that's okay. So I have a shaker of powdered sugar. I'm just gonna generously coat these. Voila! They smell fantastic. Okay, I think I'm gonna go for this guy. Okay, all of the jam sunk to one side. pretty good. Like I said, I don't really like jam, so not like hugely a fan, but I really liked the dough. So like here is the texture. It was like supremely over focused. So here's like the texture of the bread. It's like pretty airy, nice and light. And then, so you can see where the air pocket would have formed had I not punctured it. The dough by itself is delicious. I think I just make some of these. Ooh, and put like Nutella in it. That would be delicious. Yep, you've given me ideas, Tess. You've given me ideas. These are great. Perfect. Still tasty. 7 out of 10. Would probably make again, but with a different filling. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate the support more than you'll ever know. Give this video a like if you like it. Subscribe to my channel if you don't already. And until next time.